With Halloween coming up, what is your story of the creepiest thing that's ever happened to you? I was walking at 10 p.m. at night in a park that had a forest trail with some friends to ghost hunt. We were a group of about 10 people. Anyway, I kept hearing footsteps behind me and near us, and nobody was there. I was in the back of the group since no one wanted to be there. You know, human shields and all . So I was more in the open, trailing behind a bit with a partner, when out of nowhere, I heard a loud blood-curdling scream. Sounded like a girl screaming bloody murder. It surprised me because I didn't expect it, and I jumped on the spot. I glanced at the scaredy cat of the group, no reaction. I glanced at my partner and the group, all no reactions. So I just shook it off, but then I heard children laughing and more footsteps away from us in the direction I heard the scream. Nobody was there. After that, we reached a dead end, turned back, and left the trail. I asked my friends if they heard the scream, and they all gave me a blank look. What scream? One of them asked. So I told them and confirmed no one else heard it. A few years later, I decided to look up the park, and it turns out a girl was shot and killed in that park. My condolences to that girl. Also, there have been reports of other people hearing children at night as well, even though there are no children outside past curfew. My ex and I were renting an older, small house built in the 1900s. The back door had a vestibule where you could either enter the basement door or enter the back door to the house entering the dining room. This door was a long window pane, and we had a long stretch curtain for the window. My ex had some emotional issues, and when we moved to this location, things got much worse for her. One night, during one of her fits of screaming at me, we began to hear a slamming sound coming from the vestibule. We get down on the floor and peer through the uncovered bottom window pane and see the door to the basement swinging open and slamming violently and without pattern. Slam, slam, slam. We then heard and felt a very hard slam hit the floor, as if someone took a sledgehammer to the ceiling below us. I get up and slowly open the door, and the basement door opens once more and then ceases to move. I take a flashlight and head downstairs, which was a very old dirt floor, rock foundation basement. I was very freaked out as I headed down the flight of stairs and expected someone to pop out. But they never did. No one was down there, and it was very quiet. I head back upstairs and lock the doors. Nothing else happened that night, and my ex and I split soon after. I stayed at that location for another year, and after she left, I felt much more comfortable. I don't know if I believe in the paranormal, but I can't explain what happened that night, and I can't help but feel there was an energy reacting to my ex's negative energy. I also want to add that I stayed at that house through hurricane force winds, and that door never budged. This one is pretty short, and it's not near Halloween. In my hometown, there are railroad tracks that go through the middle of town, past a cemetery on the edge of town, and into the nothingness. I'm from rural Arkansas, so you can imagine what it's like. Nothing but woods and fields for miles. Well, these tracks were always talked about by the teenagers. Something about a kid getting hit by the train a long time ago. So of course, being stupid teenagers, my friends and I decide to go to the tracks one day where the kid supposedly died. So we're doing teenager things by the tracks, like putting rocks on them, when out comes a stray cat from the woods. It was kind of weird because we were so far away from town, but whatever. We didn't think about it. It walks up to us, and of course, we started petting it. A few minutes pass by, and we are all sitting on the tracks in a line, and the cat is walking from one end to the other, taking in all the pets, when all of a sudden we start to feel the ground shake. We look up, and a train was less than 100 feet from us. How we didn't hear it, I don't know, but I've never been so close to death in my life. It was terrifying, and we never saw the cat again. To this day, I think that cat tried to get us killed. I used to live in a pretty rural area in Florida growing up. Not backwoods, but a dirt road with no other houses on our street. One night, my mom woke me up at 2 a.m. on a school night, saying there were people at the end of our driveway. My mom was a paranoid schizophrenic, so this was not the first or last time she woke me up saying something similar. I thought nothing of it and told my mom she could sleep in my bed with me for the night. An hour later, she wakes me up again, saying she was hearing voices and loud noises. Papa Sawani _ Gator has been gone for a while, so at 13, I was the man of the house. I figured I would walk around the house with a flashlight to put her mind at ease. As I walked out of my room, I noticed our living room was strangely illuminated. Now I was actually concerned. I opened my front door to see a huge ball of flame out by the road at the end of our property. I ran back inside to call the cops. We were both sitting in the living room waiting for people to show up. Next thing we knew, boom. A really loud bang that vibrated the windows. About 15 minutes later, there were a fuck ton of cop cars in our driveway and out blocking off the main road. They never told us exactly why. But apparently somebody decided right by our mailbox would be a great place to light a Ford Explorer on fire. I have never been as scared or confused as 13-year-old me was opening up the front door to see a ball of fire. We moved to Tampa shortly after that. Being in the woods wasn't very healthy for my mom anyways. Plus her paranoia actually being correct for once. Posted this on another thread. I was a police officer who had a talent for talking violent, emotionally disturbed people down and diffusing situations. We had a bag lady named Annie, who we would get calls on regularly, shoplifting, disturbing the peace, etc. Depending on her mood, she would sometimes fight officers trying to arrest her. No one wanted to hurt her, so taking her out of custody could be an ordeal. Also, Annie didn't bath regularly, but she compensated by applying generous amounts of Stetson after shave. It would make your eyes water and would stay in your car for hours. The first time I had to arrest her, I talked to her in my Fraser Crane voice and it went pretty smoothly. On the way to the jail, I asked Annie if she'd eaten. When she said no, I stopped and got her a two-piece chicken meal with biscuit. I then drove slowly to the jail so she could eat. From then on, when she'd get in trouble, she'd request me to take her to jail. Fast forward, I've been promoted to sergeant. My marked cruiser number 61 was parked in the motor pool lot to be reissued. I was, as a supervisor, assigned an unmarked car. Later that afternoon, I responded to a fatal accident that one of my guys was working. It was Annie. She had been run over by a truck and killed. I was pretty upset because I had taken the unofficial title of her protector, and I should have been around to keep this from happening. Later that night, a deputy from the sheriff's office called in and said someone was hiding in one of our cruisers in the back lot. I was heading in to do paperwork and got there first. The deputy told me via radio what car it was, number 61. I went to the car and saw no one in it. Another officer brought a key and we unlocked it to check for any damage, etc. When I opened it up, the first thing I smelled was Stetson aftershave. Not paranormal, but this is a lot creepier to me now than it was when it happened. This actually just came to my attention yesterday while hanging out with my grandparents. My mom and I lived in their current house for the majority of my childhood. I always would wake up and hear these really weird noises, like someone walking around or heavy breathing in my room. I slept in a room that was in the middle of the house, so I had no windows and it was completely pitch black at night. It always gave me a small adrenaline rush, but I was never really that scared. There was one night, I was home alone for probably the first time ever, and I was just relaxing in the TV room. In that room you can see the back door, with stairs to either the basement or kitchen on the opposite side. I'm watching TV when I hear quick stomping coming from the basement. It scared the shit out of me, obviously, and turned over to look. All I saw after that was all the lights in the kitchen flicker on and off, and more crazy footsteps to the front of the house, and then a front door slamming. Likely the scariest experience I had in that house, but there were others as well. Well, I was telling my grandparents all about it yesterday, and it got awkwardly quiet. They proceeded to tell me that my aunt had a crazy ex-boyfriend around that time. It was apparently very common for him to break into the house at any and all hours and just hang out in the house without anyone knowing. My mom had caught him a few times watching her sleep, and on several occasions he was found asleep in the basement. Then all of these really strange occurrences started to make a lot of sense. Then I realized there were several times I'd fall asleep in that TV room or in the living room and wake up somewhere else, and my mom would claim she hadn't moved me. This shit makes my skin crawl every time I have new memories of it. He's in jail now, luckily, but goddamn do I wish it had been something unexplainable instead of what it actually was. Edit. They believe he was breaking into that house because my aunt had lived with us for a short time after she left him and didn't want him to know where she lived.